So it's Saturday here in Gyro Park in Grand Forks, December the 12th, and we're getting ready to do the Climate Action Walk right behind me here. With speakers and posters and stuff, and yeah, they're going to have some people talking, and they're going to do a walk. So let's see what's going on.
Signage for someone?
You need to screech in a bit? Scritch? Scooch? We need to scooch? You want us to tighten up?
No, this should be fine. I think
got a wide angle. We're nature. We are nature defending. Nature defending.
Do that again. That was great. That's good photo bombing, but the wrong side.
Nature.
We got the camera pointing in the wrong direction, I think.
We are nature defending ourselves.
Beginning. Welcome everyone. Please gather round. We've got a few speakers, a few words. Aboriginal community will be providing a beginning, and we'll have some beginning words too before we set out for our walk. So please gather out in front here, please. It's a time that we've set aside to become inspired to make some choices in our lives in whatever way we can. Listen to the speakers today. I encourage you to talk among yourselves. Reflect as you walk with the rhythm of our songs and the words of our First Nations that we will hear from today. Become aware of the conversations happening around the world and today in Paris, where many countries around the world are taking this place we find ourselves, a very altered climate, very, very seriously. Our Prime Minister Trudeau has said Canada is back. So how are we now to direct and capture this as a commitment to the environment, to make it real on the ground, right in our community, in our province and in our country? Before we start walking, we have a few opening words, a blessing from our Aboriginal community, some words from Colleen Ross and Christy Luke, and then Perry the Fairy will get us started on our walk with a song. The sincere thanks go to many, many, many folks that have helped us get this make this happen today. A special note to Chain Reaction, who has provided the rickshaw and the ferry carrier, and and the City of Grand Forks, which has been quick to assist with many of the details. Yes, so thank you. We invite you all to a showing of the film This Changes Everything on January 7th at the Gem Theatre. The discussion will continue there. I think we will begin our words with Peter. Thank you.
To set the intention of today's walk, I'll be reading an excerpt from Drew Dellinger's poem, Hieroglyphic Highway. In my world, as the years pile up behind me, the questions posed by poet and activist Drew Dellinger become ever more pressing, and the need for a courageous answer to his questions ever more urgent. Perhaps during our walk today, we will each discover our own personal answers to Drew's challenging questions. It's 3:23 in the morning, and I'm awake because my great-great-grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great-great-grandchildren ask me in dreams, what did you do while the planet was plundered? What did you do when the earth was unraveling? Surely you did something when the seasons started failing. As the mammals, reptiles, birds were all dying. Did you fill the streets with protest when democracy was stolen? What did you do once you knew?
We will have a blessing and some words from the Aboriginal community, from the Métis Association. Sam, I believe you are here. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Today I'm here to talk to you about social responsibility. Now, for those of you that don't know what social responsibility is, it's an ethical framework that states that we are all responsible and obligated to act for the benefit of society as a whole. It is the responsibility for every individual to help maintain the balance between economy and our ecosystem. I am sorry to say that as of today, we have failed in this department. There is no balance. We are destroying our only home. We are socially responsible for our actions, and it's time that we step up and accept the part that we play. Now, we know what the problem is, but instead of focusing on the problem, let's focus on the solution. And we are that solution. As we march today, I want you to think about the solution that you can be. With each step forward, think of how you can be the difference. If you're someone who recycles paper, recycle plastic as well. Take that one step forward. If you're someone that eats meat 3 times a day, cut it down to 1 or 2. Just take that one step forward. If you're someone that drives everywhere, take that one step forward. Make a rule. Only over 1 kilometer. Only over 2 kilometers. We are that change. If you're someone that likes to shop and spend your money, make well-informed decisions. Know where you're buying from, who you're buying from, and how they're creating those products. Take that one step forward. If you're someone that sits silently or likes to sit and complain in the corner, stand up. Raise your voice. You are the change. Take that one step forward. One step forward today can be the change that we want to be. It's one step forward to climate change. It's one step forward to sustainability. So, as we march today, with every step, I just want to think how you can be the change. Just take those one step forward, and we can all make a difference. Recycle, reuse, renew, learn, inform, act, care, share, and be aware. Shop local, volunteer. This is your community. Support it, change it, grow it, be the change. We are all responsible. We are all the solution. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. We will now hear from Colleen Ross.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate those words that we are the change. And I just have a few notes here. I'm a farmer. I've been farming for a long time. And in my lifetime, I've seen huge changes. Islands are sinking. Desertification is real. Rivers, streams, and lakes are drying up more than ever before. In the past 12 years, we've seen more of the hottest summers on record around the globe than ever before in human history, or since time has been recorded. Does the Granby and the Kettle River have to completely dry up before we start to really value water? Around the globe, aquifers are being depleted, causing salt pans. I want to tell you, you can't grow food in salt. You can't grow food in a desert. And we live in an arid zone. Let's be very clear, climate change is happening. In my lifetime, hunger and poverty has increased due more so to climate change than war and trade agreements. Meanwhile, war and trade agreements and corporate greed has created more poverty and unemployment and actually increased climate chaos. You go to our grocery stores and we stand here in a junction, in a confluence. This is the footprint of the local farmers market where we have an opportunity every week to purchase local food. And as a local farmer, I can come to this farmer's market, and I tell you, over half of the food that I bring to this farmer's market, I bring home with me at the end of the day. We have Overweighty, we have Bilo, we have a liquor store. Food is so important toward. Who had breakfast this morning? Who's planning on having lunch or dinner? What is on our plates has a big impact on our climate. And our plates, my kids used to tease me. I always used to say, let's look at our plates because our plates tell a story. If you need to be able to name, you should be able to name where your food came from. Oh yeah, this squash came from Nancy and Owen. Those apples came from Spencer Hill. That little bit of organic lamb may have come from Kathleen Gableman. Maybe some of the garlic came from here in the valley. Some of the food might have even come from my own little farm. If all you can say is, oh, this food came from Darrell Lee or Dole or, President's Choice, you're actually supporting industrial agriculture, which has one of the highest impact on climate change. Look at your plate, look in your fridge, start to clean it out and make those changes. Today, there is a global convergence of land and water struggles, which is being led by grassroots organizations and social movements, just like we have here today. This global convergence of land and water struggles is a response by local communities and grassroots organizations around the world who are asserting their rights to provide real solutions and resist and struggle against the threats to their lives and well-being, particularly through appropriation of natural resources by companies, governments, elites, and speculators. Communities, just like ours, also face the increasingly frequent natural disasters that are caused by climate change and the inability of governments to agree to real solutions. We cannot wait for our Prime Minister Trudeau or our new Minister for the Environment and Climate Change to make real, meaningful commitments to lower greenhouse gas emissions. But we can start to make change in our own lives, in our own communities, because real change does indeed come from the grassroots. Around the world, grassroots movements are mobilizing for change, and we are mobilizing here today in our community with a clear understanding of real solutions. And some of those real solutions were just mentioned by Sam. Thank you. Those are perfect. Those are positive. They're simple solutions. This mass mobilization and solidarity are key ingredients to active change. And one such movement is the food sovereignty movement. And the food sovereignty movement is one where farmers and eaters are put into the center of decision making in terms of how land is used. With climate change, if things keep going the way they are, I have some examples of what we will no longer have. We will no longer have the ability in our community or around the world to grow our squash or our garlic or our bread or our grain or the beer or the wine that we enjoy. These all take water. In closing, I'd just like to share this with you. I had these thoughts this morning. Regardless of your faith, belief system, religion, or ideology, we can all agree that life is precious.
Yeah.
Life is sacred. Life is a gift. That we are privileged to live here. That nature is a gift. That we are a part of nature. That we as nature are not a commercial good to be cut down, destroyed, bought, and sold. So let's join our brothers and sisters on the streets in Paris and around the globe in saying, and this is what they decided in Paris would be their motto, we are nature, defending ourselves. We are nature, defending ourselves. We are nature, defending ourselves. Thank you. And I'm going to be near the front of the line today, and I would like to have some young folks come and join me at the front and hold a little sign. Reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Peter. amazing ways to set the tone today. We will begin our walk. Christy, Luke will come to the mic now to give us some instructions. So please listen carefully. There's some key points that we want you to know.
It's lovely to see everybody here. Thank you for coming. Okay, so we're going to be walking and mingling. We're going to be mixing up with cars that are still going to be driving around. So our first priority is to keep everybody nice and safe. So I'm just going to give you a couple of heads up that maybe will help keep us all safe. First of all, just keep looking out for each other and make sure that you're staying together. We're going to be walking on the sidewalks only. And in general, like Peter and Colleen and Christine will be at the front, and they'll lead you, so you don't have to know specifically the path, but just to let you know, we're going to walk down 5th to the Selkirk corner, not cross the street to Selkirk, but then turn left at 72nd, and walk down 72nd to 2nd Street, Fire Hall, and then up to Market, and come up Market to City Hall, and we're going to have a little short stop there, and Colleen will be talking about some of the enlightened actions that our city and credit union are taking in terms of lowering emissions. And then we'll walk down 4th and walk up through this lane, and we want to make sure that everybody comes back here for a few finishing words at the very end, so the parade will, the walk will end here. We have a team of people wearing these costumes, our traffic control outfits, and they'll be carrying signs like this. So there's 7 of us that will be looking out after your safety. And please listen to them, and at times they might stop you to let cars go by, because we don't really want to have a lineup of cars becoming impatient with our crowd walking by. So they may stop you from time to time but then if you have been split up, try to close the gap as quickly as possible so that we can stay together. Peter and the rickshaw carrying Perry the Ferry will be at the front of the line, so don't go past the rickshaw, the ferry carrier, or this dude, or he'll have something to say about that. One place that kind of deserves extra caution will be when we stop in front of City Hall. So there's 2 places there where we're crossing streets with cars. So just make sure you gather as tightly as possible on the City Hall corner and not get into the streets. I guess that's the big thing. Don't go into the streets. Otherwise, enjoy yourselves. Have a great walk, and we'll see you back here for a fun time at the end for a few minutes. And I have one more piece, which is also an intention setter for the day. We're walking today for those who can't speak. We're walking for our children, our grandchildren, and their children's children. We're walking for the plants and animals and water and soil and air and all the living things that are threatened by the rising temperatures of climate change. We're walking for the people around the globe whose daily struggle for food, water, and security prevents them from having the time and luxury of standing up and demonstrating for climate action. We're walking for our friends in Paris who, after the attacks, were being prevented from demonstrating, and we celebrate those who are bravely gathering anyway today. We're walking today for the corporations who have not yet understood the damage to the earth that their persistence in harvesting oil and gas is causing. And we're walking today for Andres Dean, who has unbridled enthusiasm for this project, and he was really about 50% of everything we're doing, at least that one guy. But he had an accident yesterday that's preventing him from being here today. So we are holding him in our hearts as he gets better. And we are walking for all those who cannot speak for themselves, and for ourselves, our community, our country, and our planet. So enjoy your walk.
Harry will lead us.
here for a particular reason. This is a convergence of, or the confluence of, political decision-making, politics. Finance with our beloved credit union and our local higher education institution, Selkirk College. I'm a city councillor, I confess. We have a sustainability plan in this city, and I believe that every decision we make here has to be, we have to look at it through the lens of social justice and climate change. If we do not advance social justice, if we do not mitigate the damage we are doing to this earth and indeed our community, then we need to pass it over. Development at any cost is no longer an option. Business, as usual, is no longer an option. We can do better. We have to do the heavy lifting. And I promise you, that is a lens through which I have the privilege of sitting on my chair in council. That is a lens through which our credit union, I bank at the credit union. I know many people here bank at the credit union. The credit union keeps the money in the community and it funds projects, sustainability projects in the community.
Like the Learning Garden.
Like the Learning Garden, like the Agricultural Society, like the Watershed Management Plan that protects our water and does research about the future of our aquifer. Thank you, Mr. Credit Union, Mrs. Credit Union. Thank you for the credit union. Rethink. I asked Andrew and Elizabeth to come here. Anthony, I'm sorry, Anthony, my back. Anthony, because we need to rethink. We need to rethink about the commercialization and the corporatization of our education systems. Education and higher learning is indeed terribly important, but we need to rethink all the decisions we made in our lives, how we consume, where we go, what we do. Think about it. How do I impact my community? How do I impact my environment? So let's think about our education. Let's think about what we talk to our kids about, what we talk to our grandchildren about, what we talk to each other about. Let's be positive and work together for change, because a better future is possible.
Sorry, that song's the river song. That's why we sing it.
Thank you. Wonderful song. Wow, what a march, what a turnout. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming, for participating. I want to thank everybody that was involved in organizing. All the people that donated equipment, and all the volunteers that spent time in meetings, and all the other things that are needed in order to create an event like this. So thank you, everybody. And just a reminder that the Gem Theatre will be showing Abby Lewis's documentary, This Changes Everything, which is a documentary, as you probably all know, that's based on Naomi Klein's latest book. So January the 7th, mark it in your calendars. Tell all your friends. We're hoping to have a big turnout. Let's fill the Gem. There's a sign-out sheet here that if you're interested in getting involved in future climate action events, if you want to help organize event, please sign up and we'll get in touch with you, and also we'll send out a reminder closer to the time about the documentary at the Gem. want to talk a little bit about about mental health in the face of climate change. We've just got so much stuff coming at us these days. So many news reports, so many stories that could lead us to despair. And I know I find personally that my emotions are just all over the map. And I've heard a lot of others say the same thing. The impacts of climate change are so big and so complicated. There's so much information, there's so much misinformation, that it's really hard sometimes to sort out what we can do as individuals to really make a difference. We hear stories about polar bears struggling in the Arctic, about songbirds that are disappearing, about salmon that are unable to make it back up the rivers to spawn because the water's too warm. And we wouldn't be human if we didn't have feelings of deep despair when we learn that 200 species are going extinct every 24 hours. Or when we see photos of climate refugees displaced from their homes and their communities, from unprecedented climate chaos, from flooding, forest fires, drought, other calamitous climate change events that have never been seen before. So much is happening that it's hard to absorb it all. And sometimes it seems like it's too late to turn the ship around. But then, in the midst of all these stories of despair, suddenly there'll be a piece of good news. Like maybe it's our federal government is finally taking climate change seriously. Or maybe we'll hear about a breakthrough coming from the negotiations in Paris. And it looks like maybe the countries are going to agree to climate action that'll keep the temperature from rising not just more than 2 degrees, but more than 1.5 degrees. And so then suddenly we have this feeling of elation. Hope gets rekindled in us. Maybe it's not too late, after all. In the space of a single day, we can find our emotions just swinging all over the place. And in a way, that's probably a healthy sign, because at least it means we're awake and aware, and we're paying attention to what's going on. But also it can be overwhelming and hard to cope. And at the same time that all these things are happening with our climate, we've got stuff going on in our personal lives. We've got our own worries to deal with, we've got our own joys to celebrate. And all these things are just happening as we just go about our normal day-to-day activities, living our lives with our family and friends. Got a lot going on, got a lot to deal with. In many ways, I think we can say our governments have failed us. They failed to protect the public interest. They failed to keep us safe from climate change because they have waited so long and done so very little. But still, government actions alone aren't going to stop climate change, and we know that. We know we have to change our lifestyles, change our behaviors. It's our lifestyles, our dependency on fossil fuels that's creating the problem. Scientists are telling us that there's a limit to how much carbon the atmosphere can absorb if we're going to be able to keep the temperature rise within 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees. So there's a limit. We haven't reached that limit yet. There's a little bit of room left. And so what that means for us individually is that every time we make a decision not to drive our gas-powered vehicle on a trip, every time we decide to turn the thermostat down a little bit in our homes, every time we decide not to buy those oranges from Florida that have been transported here with fossil fuels. Those are just some examples, but you know what I mean.
We can do it.
We can do it.
Oh,
We can
yeah.
do it.
Oh, yeah.
Every time we make a decision like that, we're deciding not to add carbon to the atmosphere. We're making a choice to change our behaviors and reduce our our carbon emissions. It might seem like a small thing, a tiny, infinitesimal thing, but we have to start somewhere. And once we make one small change, it's a little easier to make another change. And bit by bit, we can start making some big changes that we all know we need to make. So, above all, in terms of our mental health, I think we need to resist the feeling that there's nothing we can do. As Andres Dean has been saying over and over, we got to fight that feeling of futility. So in closing, before I turn it over to Perry for one final song, I want to return full circle to a couple lines from the poem that Peter read out to us this morning. What do you say in those early hours of the morning when you can't sleep because your grandchildren are talking to you in your dreams and they're asking you, what did you do when the planet was being plundered? What did you do when you knew? Thank you. So, to fight that feeling of futility, we're back to wishing. A wish is a loving union of intention. And by loving our world, with every step we take, with every breath we take, and we can sing, and the song that we've been singing since we all been little kids, and if you think of our world and thinking of the best for our world as we sing this song that we all know, and thinking of the light that we are all sharing. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. This is our world. We can make it better every day in every way.